Sounds good.
Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. I am Bernardo Alvarez. I'm joined today by Oval Alvarez, no relation. We are part of the team at Draco Studios. We're working on Eldritch Century. I'm the head of lore, and he's the lead designer. We're here today to talk to you about the game Eldritch Century. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see a couple of images that we put up for you guys. This one. All right. I think everyone should be able to see it. Okay, Eldritch Century is a tabletop role-playing game that, well, we started working on it about 2 to 3 years ago. Um, up until last year in November, December, we launched our Kickstarter campaign, and it went really well. It's a horror sci-fi universe. It takes place in an alternate history, in an alternate Earth, where mainly everything happened sort of the same way that it happened in our world, except all the way up to the Great War, the First World War, where in 1918, this huge cloud of fog that people call the miasma appeared in Europe and started just expanding, and it expanded 3 times, and it enveloped the entirety of Europe. And up until the third expansion, people were able to walk into the fog and exit. But what they found was a completely shattered, completely shattered continent ravaged by monsters that apparently just came from so some were mutated people, some were mutated fossils and other creatures that apparently came from somewhere else. Um, the presence of the fog itself forced everyone in the world to reorganize. What people should expect to find inside the miasma is not really a warscape, more like something that was completely forgotten. Monsters have honestly taken advantage of the absence of people and the power that they've been taking in from the miasma itself. So this part of what you can see here is another difference in our world. In this alternate history universe, the USSR actually expanded all the way through Europe, and the only thing that could actually stop it was the presence of the miasma. Um, Outside the miasma, people were forced to reorganize, as I said before. Nations kind of gave way to what we call factions here. I'm going to go into detail, on each one of them as we go along, but essentially they are either agreements or conglomerations of peoples, all with similar agendas and similar, well, basically the same way to deal with the fog itself. Nobody knows where the fog came from. Nobody knows exactly how it works. There's a few theorists out there who kind of have a solid idea, but really it's anyone's guess by 1983, which is the time where the game takes place. The miasma, as I said before, is filled with monsters. These monsters, as I mentioned, some of them are mutations of creatures that honestly they have no idea where they came from. Some are fossils that were unearthed and evolved. Others seem to come from like from other dimensions, like the thing that sings. And there are some others that seem to be more humanized, more anthropomorphized. Some of them, for instance, these are the accidentals that were people who were involved in accidents when the miasma appeared or when the miasma started expanding. Probably some of them were while they were escaping from the fog. And their main thing is that they're trying to make other people look the same as they do because they feel that they're in the normal spot and everyone else isn't. And then there are stranger monsters like the Boreal, who also used to be human, but part of its mutations were just taking other humans and other creatures into its own body to become this massive, horrible thing. It's harder to find. They usually live in the northern ridges of Europe, like Finland and some parts of Sweden and stuff like that. We also have the Facade, for example, who really it hunts by taking on different forms and shapes so that they can hide. But also when they find something that they can feed on, particularly humans, they take on their face and just like link into their body so that they can take their energy out from them while they are too busy seeing their own expressions. This here's a Flying Reaper. I'm pretty sure you've seen it before in our campaign, or probably in, well, if you're in our campaign, you've probably
Yes,
seen
we
it
have.
before.
We are
Otherwise,
very
in other events
familiar.
where we've been
Very
featured.
familiar with Fluffy.
These came from fossils, apparently, and they have two different stages. There's the Reapling, which is a smaller form of this guy, and then there's the Flying Reaper, which usually works as a leader of the pack. And well, the Leaving Nightmares, which is this last one, that's a thing that sings. They're far more unexplainable, and people are at the present of the game, they're trying to understand what's going on. As I said, oh well, there's other terrors in the miasma, among which is the Myasmic Blight, which is sort of kind of like the blight that happened in Ireland way back when, but this is much more aggressive, and its symptoms are far more violent. People don't usually know when they are eating a vegetable or any kind of crop that is infested with it, and by the time that they realize, it's probably too late. They start showing bruises, and they start fearing water. And the last case scenario is if this doesn't happen for the particular specimen for the patient, they evolve into kind of mindless husks that are trying to go to water so that they can spread their spores and just pollute other people. This is this particular artwork from Anna Kudarenko, I believe, is an attempt that the Sino-Siberian Mandate, of whom we'll talk about later, is trying to trying to cure the Myasmic Blight on our character. It's not particularly fun, as you can see.
Or successful, it looks like.
This is our world. This is a small take from the from a comic that we're working on. It's one of the earlier drafts from the comic.
That looks beautiful.
As you can see, there's the miasma, which is this at present, it's this particular circle. It has completely taken over Europe and is just on the edge of
die, Europe, die.
Yeah, exactly. It did. They are called the remnants, and well, people who are called the remnants, and some of the missions that we're going to be putting out there, and some of the information that you're going to find in the core book, will lead on how to actually save them from there. It's not an easy task. It's like some of them really want to leave, some others are not necessarily sure that they do. But that's the miasma talking. That's the miasma having corrupted their entire lives. This map also shows kind of where the factions are located, but I'll talk about them in a moment. The world outside, as I said, had to find a new way to organize, and not only considering agendas and technologies, but also some strange secrets that were awakened by the miasma's presence. Let's start with the Atlantean Alliance. This is an alliance between Mexico, the United States, and some of the noble families from England who escaped the miasma just in time and located themselves in New Albion in the Caribbean. It's a made-up city, of course, but it's where they're located.
So this is the first time I'm seeing
they
this
are
artwork,
completely capitalistic. They believe
gorgeous.
in the same values that we have come to understand, except a lot more taken to the extreme. A lot of these factions are taken to the extreme, but they believe in money, they believe in industry, they believe in corporations. And so far, it's worked for them. They also found that actually they take their name from the discovery of Atlantis. Instead of it being found in like halfway the ocean, it's closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And it's more of a system of tunnels that are hidden underground and underwater. There's also a bigger secret around them, which you will find in the core book. But essentially, what they found in Atlantis was a secret to understanding atomic energy, nuclear energy better. Not only understand it better, but also like take it again to the extremes, make bigger technologies and more and crazier inventions out of it.
In space time.
What's that?
In space time.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's sure. Let's talk about the paths since we're talking about this. Would you like to talk about paths before we actually?
No. Just mentioning the tech.
Well, then I'll take it away from you. Paths are okay. So the Eldritch Century is a 5e compatible system, but we also made up our own system ourselves, as spearheaded by Joao himself. It takes on most of the basic mechanics of 5e, except we've changed a couple of things to make it work better in our universe, and so it feels more unique. One of the main changes is the appearance of paths as opposed to classes in 5e, and there are around 5 paths per faction. The Atlantean Alliance, one of the most important paths that you can, well, that you've probably seen in our work, is the Dynamist. Dynamists are people who have this strange contraption on their hands and a lot of studies and sort of research into the same atomics that they found in Atlantis. And they can use their formulae to change not only space and time, but also not only certain forces of physics, but also space and time itself. They are made up so that players can come up with their own idea of how they're going to shape the world accordingly to a set of powers that we offer players. We'll get into character creation a little later in the game, but it's a completely narrative experience whereby you can create your own character depending on what you want to do. I should open chat in case there are a few questions, because I see, there we go. I'm gonna move this over here. Yes, that creepy cool is a very good way to talk about the world, actually. Thank you, Chris. All right, back to it. This is a Dynamist in action. It's one of the most important part of being an Atlantean is the charreada or charreria. It's taken from a very traditional Mexican event, but particularly for the Atlantean Alliance, it's an event that young adults take, so they can be considered either adults or like to show them off to the world after they've studied, show them off to corporations, and show them off to Corsair companies of people who are going to be going into the miasma, or people who are just going to stay at home and do bigger things about their universe. It's a very complicated event, which puts people into different kinds of tasks and challenges.
Looks like it's
this
some kind
artwork
of
was
trial.
done by, I think this was by Aldo Rodrigo. I'm not sure who it was, but one of our artists here at home. And as you can see, there's people cheering. These are huge events that people it's a very rare occasion when it's not packed to the brim, because it's exciting and it's adventure after all. Among the other interesting things about the Atlantean Alliance is the use of knights. Knights are, you've also probably seen some artwork on knights. We didn't have time to actually put one here in the presentation, but knights are kind of mechanical centaurs who can climb off of their armor, of course. Rodrigo Gil, thank you, Pam. Rodrigo Gil was the artist for the charreada illustration, this one here. Knights are people who have found a way to buy or create their own horse armor. And they're a strange kind of path because they're incredibly heavy and incredibly durable, but they're also very limber because they have an entire horse attached to them. They're
Also
quite the heavy hitters. They're probably one of my favorite paths from the Alliance. And as I stated before in the character creation process, it's very easy to create a knight who can also cast powers. It's just going to be a different kind of situation. Do you want to add something about the Atlantean Alliance, Obal?
Well, this element about the charros is very linked in the Atlantean mindset. The Atlantean mindset was created from Mexico, America, and United States and Britain. So this concept of the hero on horseback is an amalgam of our charro, the American cowboy, and the British knight. So charreada is also like rodeo and also like a joust, a medieval joust of knights.
Yeah,
That's really
exactly.
cool.
As Christian puts it, charrería is considered by many the real national sport in Mexico. And that's really kind of what we're trying to accomplish with the factions. We're trying to make a very different nations come together into one kind of block, if that makes sense.
By their common elements.
Exactly, by using common elements, and also by trying to make every single faction as gray as possible, as morally gray as possible. Not only here, but as you read the core book, you'll find that there is no easy way to categorize any of the factions as good or evil. There's always some good to each faction, but there's also some harder aspects of them. But again, it's like as people are in the real world, there's good and evil in all of us, right?
You can't get any more morally gray than capitalism.
Exactly, yeah. Let's go to our next one. So all the way in Africa, we have the Eczema Federation. The Eczema Federation is
a gorgeous looking setting.
African nations who were trying to protect themselves against colonizing, a colonist Rhodesia. We're kind of bringing back Rhodesia as an element in our world. These are it's kind of hard to explain the Rhodesia that we're working on, but I think the best way to put it is the probably the worst case scenario that could have happened instead of having Zimbabwe, instead of the whole revolution that happened in Rhodesia, is what's going on here. There's a lot of English involvement. There's a lot of honestly just people trying to take advantage of others. However, the Eczema Federation is a response to that. It's a resistance against that. They were formed after the king of it's one of our created characters, so that we don't.
I would love to see more artwork of this area.
We shouldn't, right? The Kabede family, who was the ruling family of one of the Federation. I'm sorry, I'm just. They found in the desert this thing called the Gift. It's a strange box which kind of sprouted strange energy that they couldn't really understand at first because it was written in strange like hieroglyphs and strange texts and languages. And after a lot of study by the Queen of the Federation, Queen Eshekebere, they discovered not only the use of Sohar, which is a distillation of the miasma itself, but also the creation of this thing we call dread angels. Dread angels are, I'm actually going to show you a picture. These are seraphim. They are people who have been put to a surgical process where they get Sohar implants. Yeah, Sohar implants that not only completely change them in a strength and bodily way, they also make them like live way longer. Actually, the queen herself looks around her 30s, 40s, but she's closer to 80. But that's because she was the first one who actually put herself into that position. Instead of having some stranger put into the as a trial, she actually put herself and became the first Red Angel of the Federation. They are looking for more ways to use the miasma to their power, but also a way to take the secrets of the gift to the entire, to everyone. They believe that they are, that the secrets of the gift are not just for them who found it, but a solution for everybody, as a way to not only find peace, but find power and find a way to like come together against the fog itself, the miasma. It's going to be harder, of course, because other factions have different agendas that completely go against this. But listen, it's what they're going for. They are in the northeastern side of Africa. They are actually the only ones who come into into contact with the Miasma directly, along with the Sino-Siberian Mandate. They are the only people who have outposts in the desert that are completely bordering the miasma itself. They're really quite interesting, and creating art for them has been amazing, because we really didn't want to use the white perspective of Africa, right? We wanted to try something different. We wanted to try something else. And honestly, I'm really excited with what we've done with them. I'm sorry, with what we've done with them. Obel, you want to add anything?
Well, since this is a coalition of North African nations such as Egypt, Kenya, Ethiopia, their common thread is anti-imperialism. They are all emancipated nations who freed themselves from white colonialism during the miasma. The miasma that took over Europe actually freed these people to pursue their own political agenda and their own political federation, their own freedom, but their own established, civilized freedom.
It's a strange emotion that you can feel when looking at the Eczema Federation, considering that they're the only ones who are directly taking miasma from the miasma so that they can turn it into something else, and they take a lot. It's the process of changing miasma into sulfur is very extensive miasma-wise, and no matter how much miasma they take from the source itself, it doesn't seem to change at all. Like, the miasma is here to stay after all. It's a constant horror for everyone. All right, next up is the Nishoku Teikoku.
I've been looking forward to seeing this one.
This is the only faction that is only one nation, but historically, thanks to the team made up by Hiromi Kota, it really didn't need much else. It's a bit of a cultural situation for them, but also a historical thing. Essentially, when the miasma appeared, the kami of the Japanese, I'm sorry, what's that? Are there many European refugees? Where did they go? Oh, that's a great question, actually, before I get started with them. Yes. When the miasma appeared, everyone was forced to move. Whether you were fast enough or not, you were forced to move because this thing was coming at you, right? A lot of people, like the English, took to the sea and went to America because it was the farthest you can get away from it. But other people weren't as lucky. They were forced to move to like the Siberian part of Eurasia. Other people were forced to go to Africa. Others even took to the seas, and instead of going to America, just went to form a different faction afterwards. But a lot of them, yeah, as Obel is answering in chat, a lot of them were trapped and they became the remnants, if they weren't taken by miasmic corruption first, because this thing really mutates you not only body but also of mind. And I mean, the luckiest thing that can happen to you as a remnant is, of course, to escape. But another one, honestly, is to die. Otherwise, you're going to become a monster. It's not really a forgiving force, the miasma. But yeah, a lot of European refugees, answering your question, Emma, are a key element also in considering the creation of the factions themselves. Even the Empire of the Eclipse has a few refugees who came into it, but kind of the first part of their creation with a bit of a resistance to the miasma itself. However, when the kami first warned them of the miasma and how far it was going to take them, they started opening their doors, and they changed emperor. They actually, when the Showa emperor abdicated, he left his one surviving daughter, who I know that the Showa emperor did not have any daughters, but again, as part of the creation of our world, we made up a daughter, Aiko, and she became the Nishoku empress. She called it the eclipse, the Nishoku era, which is the eclipse era, and she started opening the doors and really working to listen to the kami, who said, escape. Not only escape Japan, but leave the earth. So instead of looking to expand in earth, the Empire of the Eclipse is looking for resources so that they can take to space and claim them when they have completely perfected their space travel, their space programs. All right, let's look at chat. Oh yeah, that's Hobel. So many people feel the Federation due to their close relationship. Well, it's a lot of people are uneasy about their relationship, but also some understand that this is their way with power. Honestly, since they all have a relationship with the miasma itself, and they are the only people who take it as a fuel or as a source of materia.
And they're the only ones who have turned it into a benevolent force.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to fear someone who has turned it into something benevolent. And if anyone has anything against them, the Eczema Federation.
Jeremy raised his hand.
Sorry?
Jeremy raised his hand, I think.
Jeremy. Oh yeah. All right. Let's check it out. Where's my cursor? Here we are. Jeremy. Let's look him up. Or are we? All right. What's seems to raise his hand? All right. Can we look at Jeremy? Where's Jeremy? I don't think I can see him.
Gotta love learning new technology.
Right. We'll keep going. So if we can find Jeremy, that would be great, so we can answer questions. However, Jeremy, feel free to use the chat for earlier questions. We'll try to tackle them as they come along. Yes. So the Empire of the Eclipse evolved into this. Well, as you can see it, a bit of a mixture between steampunk and cyberpunk, if you may say. However, what they do, what they
it is very interesting looking.
What really characterizes this faction is that not only did they listen to kami themselves, but they also developed a process we call the mashing process, through which they imbue a kami into an object, and they bestow that object with the power and the identity of the kami. So kind of like your revolver suddenly has a spirit inside it that when you shoot it has a different effect. Of course it shoots a bullet, but it also has a different effect that affects not only the gun but yourself, but also the bullet being shot, if that makes sense to you all. It also works for their armor. In fact, one of their main creations, I'm not sure if it's here in the artwork. No, I used a different one, but well, one of their biggest things is the Kinsoku Oni. Actually, today's update in Kickstarter was about the Kinsoku Oni. They are people who ceremonially have their limbs removed so that they can add like huge prosthetics, each inhabited by an Oni. Oni spirit, I believe, is the correct terminology, by an Oni, which is an ogre in Japanese folklore. And
that's crazy.
These become like these massive mechas that walk alongside adventurers, and who really, honestly, like they are made of damage. These ones, they're also very fun to think about as a path. Ooh, actually, talking about paths, I'll finish up with Nishoku, and I'll go back to Axamite, because it's probably one of the most interesting paths that we've worked on. Regarding the Empire of the Eclipse, as I said, they're trying to amass resources to send them to space, and part of their space program involves using the mashing process to put a kami into rockets and pods, send them to space, and if things work out, great, they have enough to continue living in space. However, if things go awry, they can come back, and since kami don't die, they can let them know what's going on, what went wrong, so they can make things better. All right, chat. Okay, so you said the gift still the Ark of the Covenant, and the Tree of Life is formed from the staff. Yeah, exactly. We changed the name, and also we kind of changed the rules of the object. Oh, here's our Empress, Aiko. Pam, since you're in chat, could you remind us who created Aiko? I believe it was also Rodrigo, was it?
Again,
Aldo.
beautiful
yes,
artwork.
Aldo is
beautifully
another
done.
one of the artists who have been working with us. All right, let's go back. Among the Dread Angels, I think one of the most interesting challenges we've had to tackle was working with dual characters in the same character, if that makes sense. We created this this creature called the Ophan, the Ophan plural Ophanim, who are the spirits of, well, the memories and identities of warriors who have died.
Previous explanation, Axomite character class are modeled about around angels. There are kinds of angels.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, you have your seraphim, you have your cherubim, Erelim, Malachim, and the Ophanim. The Ophanim, as I was saying, is a soldier who died. You put their identity and memories into this highly technological sphere, obviously fueled by Sohar, and you connect that sphere to a mask. This mask, when put on a host, will make the Ophan, who is the actual identity in the sphere, control the body. This is very humbling for a lot of Axomites to lend their body to the advancement of the Eczema Federation is even heightened by the fact that you're working with another identity of somebody who is much more experienced than you. So when you're creating an Ophanim, I'm sorry, it's the singular. When you're creating an Ophan, you don't have to think only of the host, but of the new identity that's coming in, and they'll probably be coming in conflict. It's kind of a similar situation, a similar relationship that warlocks usually have with their patrons, except one of them is not trying to take advantage of the other.
Well, and in the Eczema Federation, if you play an Ophan, you are the patron. The body is your tool.
Yeah, exactly. You're the patron. Exactly. Well, we're really glad to read that, Jeremy. Thank you very much. We've talked about the Nishoku. Nishoku have also created, well, not created. They kind of gave a different meaning to samurai and shinobi. In our real history, they were kind of what's the word I'm looking for? They not discontinued, but like the tradition stopped basically. However, in our world, they took a different meaning to their lives. Instead of serving a lord, a feudal lord, now they're serving their own families and their own families' intentions.
Which means corporations.
Yeah, most of these families set up corporations, and what they're really representing now is their own lineage. It's really interesting because you have to think about what kind of family the shinobi has and what kind of family the samurai is trying to hold up. Additionally, there's another path for the Shoku, the Kaiso, which is one of the last Yakuza with extra steps. That's very good. There's also the Kaiso, who are far more independent. They are people who, well, in their history, there was this revolt in Anchorage, I'm sorry, which was sold to them along with the entirety of Alaska by the Atlantean Alliance. There was this revolt among the people of Anchorage, and one of the main things they used was the Nemurenai, by which when they by any accident lost a limb, and instead of losing them voluntarily, they probably lost it by accident. They put a prosthetic with a kami in it and used it as a way to recover. Yes, recover. That's the word. Yeah, they were, instead of following tradition, they kind of took a more personal step towards the mashing process. We made these characters thinking about like the I don't want to say, but the modification of oneself, right? After an accident, like from experience, what the hardest part is recovery, right? And the hardest part is to go back to what you thought was normal.
Very true.
Which is rarely the case, because you always go through changes, right? But our take on that kind of situation is the Kaiso, who after accidents make their new addition to their bodies their power. It doesn't have to be just their arms. It could also be legs or even part of their face or anything. As long as it's a prosthetic with a kami in it, and they're not like following certain other rules that other pets have, they can be considered a kaiso. Motion over equipment, yes. Samurai, yeah, as Dan is adding to the conversation, samurai and other paths in the Nishoku Teikoku are trying to hoard those resources so that they can be used for the sent to space and also used for their space programs.
For their life in space. They care less and less about their life on Earth.
Next, look at the Yuri. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, the Nishoku Teikoku. They start caring less and less about their life on Earth. As you can see, my internet connection is unstable, but I think we should be right back. This beautiful man is the hegemon Atlantean, who, yeah, look at that. He's the head of the Renaissance hegemony. If you follow the campaign, you've seen that these used to have a different name. However, as part of our responsibility as creators, we've taken some steps on cultural consultancy, right? We are trying to, we're trying to make the game as fun as it can be, and you can't really have fun if you're too busy with being attacked. So one of the main changes was the change of the Renaissance hegemony into its own name. The Renaissance hegemony is follows a story of
I wonder if there's
really
a shorter
revolt.
version of that
Again,
name.
they were the main protesters and revolutionaries against the incoming communism into America. When the USSR in our history expanded into Europe, it also started expanding everywhere else. And one of our front of the vanguard was the Renaissance paramilitary organization, spearheaded by Atlantean. In time, they became the hegemony after a few key discoveries. First of all, the lost city of El Dorado, the Golden City, as we call it in the game, which instead of following the same ideals as the movie, for example, it's more of it's a story about experimenting and about the dangers of science in many ways. Atlantean found this city along with his allies, and he learned the story about this ancient creature, or ancient person who used to live in the Amazon, who started discovering secrets that were way ahead of their time and way ahead of even our time, right? However, the people around him started getting suspicious of his work. They started fearing his work, and they locked him in the Golden City. So it's not really a city where you want to live. It's more of this massive prison. However, when Atlantean found it in the Amazon, he understood where the Golden One was going, where the person who was trapped inside the Golden City was coming from. And he understood the importance of not only its being, but his own being itself. His eyes glow golden, as you can see. That's part of what you will learn as you read the core book. It's some of the secrets that I don't want to
no spoilers.
The evidence, not just now. It's because these kinds of secrets can make campaigns much more interesting for your players, right? And I believe they can be much more interesting to you as you find it in the book. Among the other things that they found in the Golden City was a kind of mushroom, kind of fungi, from which they developed gold mycelium, which is not only a fiber that they can use for creating things, but also it had mutagenic properties. Part of the Renaissance culture is, well, like it's a very open society. However, to reach your full potential in the society itself, it's kind of imperative that you take on mutagens. However, nobody's forced to take on mutagens, right? It's just the hegemon believes that everyone has their own time, and if you don't take mutagens, that's fine. You're still welcome in the hegemony, right?
And it's dangerous to take mutagens.
It's very dangerous. It's a lot of people don't make it, but those who do make it, however, come out with not only improvements to their to their body and their minds, but also with certain drawbacks that come according to the person. When creating a Renaissance character, it's important to understand the role that mutagens had for you, and what's really important to the hegemon. And I'm pretty sure I'm not saying that right, but also it's a rare occasion where I actually say that word out loud and not in Spanish. But essentially, what's important to him is that you use what's new to you and make it your power. There's a very important character in the hegemony that he took mutagens, but really doesn't look like he did at all. Instead, in fact, he looks even worse than he did before. But the mutagens that awakened within him were completely logical, completely mind related. And he's one of the most important people in the hegemony. He's one of the most challenging characters for the hegemon himself and for the people around him. Yes, there he is. Okay, so this guy on the right, do the hegemony still have a bit of a Lovecraftian feel? Actually, everything is supposed to have a bit of a Lovecraftian feel. But yeah, I think the clearest take is from the
They
hegemony
look very
and from the Atlantean Alliance.
aristocratic.
But ideally, we really want to have that feel all around. That would be amazing. Yes, as Obel is saying, a lot of the hegemony's ideals are to expand their territories and their ideals throughout the whole world, and they see the miasma as another place that they can take.
They can conquer.
Especially because it's since it's unclaimed and since it's just filled with horrors, it's really hard that somebody else is going to go through and attack them in the miasma. So it's a strategic idea that they have for the miasma itself. Most leadership in miasma outposts and their leaders still come from Dunwich Academy. That's true. Yeah. Dunwich and the Atlantean Alliance still holds the Innsmouth.
Yeah, I think the most Lovecraftian faction we have is the Atlantean Alliance.
Yeah, probably. As I was saying, these two are important characters in the hegemony. We decided on these two so we could see kind of the range, because we have the all-powerful, all-beautiful hegemon, right? But we also wanted to see different forms of beauty that is celebrated in the hegemony. On the left is Maria Joao. They are one of the most important artists in the hegemony, along with Oscar Rueda. They are an architect, poet, singer. They're really what makes the ideals and the vision of the hegemony take on an artistic power and a beauty more easy to perceive and more easy to understand. However, it can also be they also create like very challenging things to celebrate the mutagens themselves and the hegemony itself. On the other hand, you have Viceroy Mateus. Yeah, he's the guy I was talking about. He's while it's he took mutagens, and instead of becoming this higher being, if that's not the word. Instead of reaching the potential that people were thinking that he was going to get, he kind of just stayed the same, and it was his mind that really like took a different step.
So he didn't physically evolve; he mentally evolved.
The constant reminder for the hegemon and the people around the Renaissance, the Renaissance hegemony, that things can change and that things can be better and played on, and that things can improve, and it's not usually going to be through the way that you believe it's going to be.
And he's in charge of Renaissance economics.
Exactly. Yeah, that too. He's in charge of the ABIC, the Amazonian Bio-Industrial. I'm kind of nervous here. Combine, was it? Yes. Yeah, they're the main economy, and everything that happens in the Renaissance hegemony, it takes place in South America, as mainly in the Amazon region, but also it expands to Peru and other important parts of the, well, and other more northerly parts of South America. We also have the Oceanic community. Jen Rabey, Rabey, am I saying that right? Really, it depends.
It's Rabey.
Rabey, thank you, Jen. It really depends on the person. A lot of people don't change physically; they just change mentally. Others change mostly physically. Others are a mixture of the two. It really depends.
There's this idea that you
like
will become more handsome, more beautiful.
It's so what was that?
There's this idea that you will become more handsome, more beautiful by mutating yourself.
Oh yeah, but it's a rare occasion where that actually happens. It's a bit of it's a bit of a draw, but then that's what the hegemon applauds, that even if mutagens didn't go the way you planned them to, you can still make them your power. Seems like in your RPG, if anyone is ever near Norway, shout out. Oh, thank you so much, Chris. All right, let's. Okay, now it's turn for the Oceanic community. The Oceanic community is probably the most diverse of our factions, and that doesn't like that has to do with the fact that it's made up of people from everywhere. It's mainly from Scotland, Australia, New Zealand, and the
Polynesian Islands.
Polynesian Islands, thank you, the Polynesian Islands. But a lot of people find a home in the Oceanic community, mainly because it's completely decentralized. It's a fleet of ships, a fleet of ships that each ship has its own rules, its own captain, its own matua matua, who are where our captain is the organizational leader of a ship. The matua matua is more of the philosophical leader of a ship. And even then, while you live on your own ship, there's this huge motherships that you've probably seen in artwork. I'm not sure if there's one here. Oh no, that's Faiza.
Oh, that's beautiful looking.
The ship behind Faiza is one of our motherships.
Oh.
I'll talk about Faiza in a second. Essentially, these motherships.
I'm most excited about seeing all this artwork because I haven't seen any of this. I've worked with Draco Studios before.
There are
previously,
hippie communes.
But
yeah, they're hippie.
I haven't gotten to see any of this work before.
They work. Some of them work as residential ships. Others are mostly focused on science, and others are mainly considered in the rehabilitation of remnants. These are the people who rescue the most remnants. Their entire agenda goes around cleaning the earth. Not necessarily from the miasma. They actually see cleaning the earth as a way to get rid of the miasma, right? They believe that the miasma happened because everything was so polluted and honestly just so dirty. They really want to save it through healing. Among the most important things about these guys is that, as you can see, it's mainly scrap. Their entire world is made of scrap. They're either taken from sunken ships before their time or from defeated enemies, right?
They are recyclers.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a key word to understand.
They're recyclers and foragers, so that's really interesting.
We actually toyed with the idea of a character who was just like named the Recycler, but it was hard to pinpoint like what they would look like because everyone does that. Among their powers are the DDC, which is CCD. Sorry, yeah, the CCD, which is a cetacean communication device, which is what Feza is wearing around her neck. They find a way to communicate with the cetaceans mainly through the communication of images and other such sensory communications, languages.
I love the dolphins.
They
gear.
also have the use of weighing magic. Weighing is the shadow puppeteering in real life. However, for our game, we are making it a power. We're making it a form of power through narration.
I also like
through
all her
the use
tattoos.
of
You might not be able to
puppets
see it
and
right now,
shadows
but she's
as a
got
way
intricate
to change the world
tattoos
and
along her
sometimes defend,
forearm.
sometimes harm.
Shadow kinesis.
Shadow kinesis, yeah. We also have what we call shaman, singular shaman. They are and blood warriors. They come from the same origin. They are following the teachings of a character we call the woman with the half moon, who appeared from somewhere and started following the community. She just was there one day, and she started showing people and teaching people how to move the water that's already inside us, namely our blood. Instead of using that blood to harm others, the shaman usually use it to heal, and like they wake up your blood and they make you like either a buffer or they simply just like heal you, like heal up your scars.
But they
And
also can
the
kill
blood
you.
warriors
They also can
are
stop your
good
heart
at
like that.
oh yeah, they can also damage you. um, it's a philosophical thing, Obal. And there's also the blood warriors who are mostly like dealt with doing damage. They wake up their own blood and they wake up their own potential through the use of their own blood to well protect really. Um, we're doing something interesting with those guys where while it would be too easy to make them the angry, rough people in the ship, they're usually the kinder, the ones with the brightest smiles, and the ones who just want to like protect everyone. Faiza is one of the most intriguing characters in the community. She's a scientist. She is an engineer, and yeah, she's like she takes on her own. Really, she's more interested in finding things out than keeping things in control, and I think that's amazing. And finally, the Sino-Siberian Mandate. They are the coming together of China and what was left of the USSR by the time the miasma had expanded too much.
What about Canada?
They're led by two people. This is Xu Shanghua, and this is Yermak. They share the responsibilities um, of yeah, they share the responsibilities of leading the mandate. What's that? Did you leave the? Oh, that's a good question, Jeremy. No, we kept the golems in history from the presence of Mir Garfunkel. However, the presence of golems was it kind of took a strange step as we were developing them, because as you probably know, they if overused, they can become like dangerous to the one who crafted them. However, Mir Garfunkel, in the characters of the oceanic community, has decided that golems should only be used in extreme situations, and it's generally a bad idea to play with that.
So in the
However,
comments, I got a
Mir has
response to
taken on
"Where's Canada" in this, and
role
it
of
says that they're very independent.
the more
Yay,
spiritual and the
Canada!
more philosophically driven of the community. It's interesting. And yeah, as Obal is answering, the Canada is mostly independent. In practice, it's mostly with the Atlanteans. However, there are many other countries that are not with any factions, but that doesn't mean they're like lost forever. They're just not playing the same game that the others are. While the factions are like
you can still be a character of any nation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can make your own character from any nation you want. Just some nations are not involved with factions by their own decisions. As I was saying, the Sino-Siberian Mandate, they are the biggest faction geographically, but that's only because Russia is so big. And they have developed the use of Teslatronics. There was this huge debate as we were doing the campaign.
I'm
about
in
how
love
Tesla
with this
didn't have any
artwork,
children.
and I know that
And yeah,
last
that's true.
year
However,
Will
in our story,
cosplayed as
he
this
adopts a
at
girl as
Gen
he's
Con.
escaping the Atlantean Alliance so that he can join the Sino-Siberian Mandate. And she's the one in charge of developing Teslatronics. The same parameters that he was working on, she actually turned into technology. She actually turned into weapons and into a way to see the world. Yes, as Dan says, we wanted to keep it open to develop adventures and a unique alternative to the Alliance. I believe he means the like Canada and other nations. Yes, the Sino-Siberian Mandate, they are heavily communist. They actually are what communism would be on paper, except put into practice, and it works. And people, instead of this image that we have on communism, this actually kind of subverts it. They have entire cities that are just humongous factories, but where people are working, well, upon reason, to to bring the mandate and the ideals that Trotsky had to the world. In this history, in this alternate history, it wasn't Lenin who took over primary, it was Trotsky, and that's one of the main reasons why they expanded so much. That is a lot of speaking. Essentially, Eldritch Century is a world of adventure, but also a world of horror and a world of dangers. There are going to be many adventures where it's going to be just one faction, but there are also other adventures that are going to be talking about the Minerva Initiative. The Minerva Initiative is this strange non-faction, but also more of a secret organization that's living in Iceland because it's the closest thing to the miasma. And they are trying to destroy the miasma itself. Not clean it like the oceanic community, but attack it, destroy it by understanding it, by finding new technologies and making themselves more powerful. And many believe that they are the key players behind some of the bigger decisions in the Wounded Earth, which is what we call the world of the Eldritch Century. This is another one of our monsters, the Cave Kraken. It's one of the latest monsters we created. That's just one part of it. As you can see, it's huge. It's massive. We have around 4 minutes, because I can't synthesize things, for questions and for anything else you want to add, Obal.
I would like to keep it for questions. I would synthesize it as Eldritch Century is a game about horror, about technology, and about politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point where all these things overlap, that's Eldritch Century. That's horror, fantasy, sci-fi, and politics. Intrigue. You're intriguing against different political factions. Meanwhile, you're running away from Lovecraftian things. That's it.
Sometimes even going straight at them because you want to study them.
Yeah.
As we said at first, we developed a form of character creation that is essentially all narrative based. There's a lot of things to consider about like passive, not really passive, but like background things that make you that determine your ability scores and also like make you different from every other character.
Do you have some pics of the minis to show? They're asking.
I'm actually going to stop sharing so that I can share the other screen that I have right here. We don't have any pictures of new minis. I'm not sure if you've seen the Kickstarter campaign, but here it is. I did not think of putting minis in our presentation. Here's one of them, which was in that's a GOG. They later become Gog Magog if left to run around.
Fluffy
however,
is still
you can
my
find
favorite.
More about the minis in our Kickstarter, and I think we're also updating our webpage a little bit. That's not what I want to roll. What I want to scroll. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, we toy around with this idea in the office that the kind of character creation process that we have allows you to create a power caster who's not smart at all, but he will beat you up if he wants to. It's not ideal, of course, but we do want you to have that opportunity, and we want you to feel like your time creating that character was well spent, really, and you had fun creating them. Where is chat? Did I lose chat again? I think I did.
Probably when you change windows.
Oh, well, are there any more questions? I'm not sure if I can find chat as I'm trying.
I've got one.
Go ahead.
So when is this available? Or is it still in pre-order?
No, it should be available by December. We're trying our best considering the pandemic, but yeah, by December we're plotting it to be available.
You can late pledge in the Kickstarter.
Yes, you can, exactly. You can go to Kickstarter to that's Eldritch Century. Here we go. Eldritch Century 5e RPG dual system, and you can still do late pledges and pre-orders and all that. Oh, yep. As Daniel early in chat is saying, backer kit is also available. If that's actually our pledge manager situation, so that's also a place where you can find it. I think that's our time. You can find us on social media, and yeah, just look us up. We'll be happy to oh, they're sending minis to us.
Thank you so much. This was really informative.
Yeah, I'm glad you all came. And as we constantly say in our communications with you, we want this game to be enjoyable. We want this game to be fun. And since we're talking about like regular people in the real world, well, in a not real but very real world, we don't want to offend anyone. So we're always open to conversation if we inadvertently did so. So yeah, the door is always open. All right.
Well, that's the end of the panel.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so yeah, how should we do this? Because
so that's the end of the panel for us. We'll catch you guys at the next one.
There are other